Hello and welcome back to another edition of Laini Taylor Ruins My Bank Balance. Hi everyone, my name is Chloe. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is going to be talking about this giant stack of books I have in front of me. That is all the books that I bought in the month of June. I did not plan on spending this much money. I say that every month. I didn't plan on buying this many books. I mean, some of them are, quite a lot of them actually, are pre-orders, so they were always going to come during this month. I just possibly didn't really take it into account when I was buying other things. But yeah, I'm not going to ramble too much because I have a lot of books to talk about today, so let's start with it, shall we? The first book that I bought was actually one that you'll have seen me decide to pre-order if you watched my TBR for the month of June, and that was Veronica Comics by Jennifer Duggan. So I bought this one because I wanted to read it for a TBR prompt. This is about two teenagers who are the son and daughter of rival comic book companies, one of them being a more indie, smaller company, and one of them being a giant sort of conglomerate company. And it is basically about what happens when the two of them meet and start up a romance that their parents maybe don't approve of. And also will say that this one has fairly big trigger warnings for anxiety and mental health representation. A lot of it does go more into that than necessarily the cute fluffy love story that I thought it was going to be. But yeah, I've already read this one. I really enjoyed it. I spoke about it more in my wrap-up that I will have posted in the video before this one if you would like to see more full thoughts. The next book that I received was the book in the May Illumicrate box, I believe. They're a little bit behind in shipping just because of everything COVID, Suez Canal issues as well, and so it came sort of the beginning of June, and that was The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. So I don't know too much about this. All I know is that I love myself a good Illumicrate copy because we have some lovely edges. I believe it's also got a book plate in there as well. So because I don't know too much about it, I'm going to have to just read you the synopsis. So it says, one is a vengeful princess seeking to dispose her brother from his throne. The other is a priestess searching for her family. Together they will change the fate of an empire. Imprisoned by her dictator brother, Laini spends her days in isolation in the Harana, an ancient temple that was once the source of powerful magic, but is now little more than a decaying ruin. Priya is a maidservant, one of several who make the treacherous journey to the top of the Harana every night to attend Malini's chambers. She is happy to be an anonymous drudge as long as it keeps anyone from guessing the dangerous secret she hides. But when Malini accidentally bears witness to Priya's true nature, their destinies become irrevocably, I can never say that word, irrevocably tangled. It's that word that was always in the back of the Twilight books with the sentences about being unconditionally, irrevocably in love with him. God, I hate that word. Anyway, this sounds really interesting. I hope I'll get to it soon. I'm not going to lie, it's sort of scaring me a little bit because I've just come out of a month of reading contemporary and this is a fairly chunky fantasy book, but it does sound really good. I believe it's sapphic, so we'll see how it goes and hopefully I'll have some thoughts on this one for you guys soon. Oh, also I forgot to mention, we have a nice little under the cover design as well because Illumicrate likes to give us pretty things on the books. Next up we have a pre-order which was Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. So Nicola Yoon is the author of Everything Everything and The Sun is Also a Star. I love both of those books, so I knew I needed to pick this one up. It is about a girl who is called Eve, who basically whenever she sees a couple kiss she can see sort of their entire relationship and how that's going to progress, starting from sort of when they got together to whenever it sort of falls apart, and that makes her a little bit of a cynic about love until she starts taking dance lessons and meets a guy called X and starts to wonder whether or not love is worth it. I think that sounds really cute. Like I said, I've loved both of her previous books, so I'm hoping that I like this one soon. This is actually one that I plan on picking up during July, so see this one in my next month's wrap up. Next up we have a few from a trip to Waterstones I made in the middle of the month, and the first one being Vampires Never Get Old, which is by various different authors. The main reason that I bought it is that there is a short story by V.E. Schwab in here. So as the name suggests, this is all short stories about vampires, sort of each author's take on a vampire story. V.E. Schwab's is called First Kill and it's going to be made into a TV show. I believe it's a sapphic story about a vampire who falls in love with a vampire slayer. Sounds fantastic to me, and so I'm excited to read that one, but also all the other stories in here as well. There's a couple of authors that I've read from, like Julie Murphy and Danielle Clayton, but then there's also quite a few that I haven't read from as well, so hopefully I'll get to this one soon, although I might end up saving it for a little bit closer to Halloween. So the next book that I bought from the Waterstones trip was Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joya Goffney. So actually I was looking at the back of this one. The synopsis doesn't give much away, which is why I'd actually been looking at it for a while and wasn't sure whether to pick it up. I did eventually look up the synopsis on Goodreads, and basically it is about a girl who has a journal where she keeps all of these lists about everything basically, and one of her lists ends up being found and posted on anonymously on an Instagram account, and then she gets blackmailed, and the sort of thing that's being threatened is that all of her lists will be made public. I don't know much about this. The cover intrigued me, I won't lie, and it was on a buy one get one half price offer, so I kind of needed something to pick up with the other one that I'm going to show you in a minute, and I just thought, I keep looking at it, I don't know why I'm drawn to it, but I am, so hopefully this is going to be something that I enjoy. So the next one is one that I actually did go into Waterstones looking for, and then happened to be on this buy one get one half price offer, which is great, and that is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahereh Mafi. So Tahereh Mafi is most known for writing the Shatter Me series, which is a sort of classic YA fantasy series that I've never read personally. It's just not something that interests me, but I have read Tahereh Mafi's other contemporary, which was called A Very Large Expanse of Sea, and I really enjoyed that one, and this seems to have a similar vibe to it, so I thought I'd pick this one up. This is set in the US several months after the US has declared war on Iraq, and it's when sort of hate crimes and Islamophobia are at a high in the US, and it's basically about a girl who wears a hijab and how she is sort of dealing with that. And it says on the back that basically she keeps her head down and keeps sort of retreating into herself more and more until one day she's just had enough and she explodes. And I don't know what exactly that means, but I'm looking forward to reading it. Like I said, it's sort of similar themes to a book that Tahereh Mafi's wrote before, which was, I believe that one was set just after 9/11, and I did really enjoy that one, so I'm hoping that I like this one as well. Next up is one that I got from Illumicrate as part of their debut box collection. So a debut box is basically when there is a book that is a debut for an author, and they do a box where you get a hardback copy of the book as well as like a couple of things. So in this one you got a pin and a bookmark. It's not a full box, but it's just a nice way of sort of promoting debut authors. And for this one it was Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Imade, which is a book that I could not stop hearing about. I've been hearing about this one for months actually on book Twitter and things like that, and I've been really excited for it coming out, and now it finally is here, and I got this beautiful copy. So the UK version is usually paperback, so this is a UK cover but in a hardback, and also has a little hidden cover underneath as well. I said Illumicrate always to go in that little bit extra. It is also a signed copy as well, and this is described as Gossip Girl meets Get Out. So basically it is set in a private school, and it's about two characters who end up getting blackmailed by a anonymous texter called Aces, and it says in here that it's an incendiary and utterly compelling thriller with a shocking twist that delves deep into the heart of institutionalized racism. I am not reading much more about this one because I think that with it being a thriller, it is best if I go in knowing as little as physically possible, but I have heard very good things about this, so I'm looking forward to reading this one hopefully soon. Okay, this is the third time I've been trying to talk about this book because my phone is being a nightmare. But the next one that I bought was The Other One That I Want by Simon James Green. So this is about a boy called Freddie who basically believes that he is fairly unremarkable. He thinks that no one really remembers him. And then he has this really sort of embarrassing incident with a TV star because his mum's a TV producer. And basically he decides, or his friends decide for him, that he needs to start saying yes to opportunities. He needs to just basically take control of his own life a little bit more, and that leads him to audition for the school play. It leads him to sort of flirting with the new boy at school, and it just kind of goes from there. It's just about what happens in Freddie's life after he kind of makes this decision to take charge a little bit more. I've already read this one. I read it in the month of June, and again, full thoughts in my last video, but I did enjoy this one. I gave it 4 stars, so I'm happy that I picked this one up. Another one that I received in the month of June and then read literally immediately. I think I started reading it about 10 minutes after it came through the door, because of course I did. It's One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. So this is about a character called August who has recently moved to New York, and when she gets there she ends up meeting this girl on the subway, has a little bit of a flirtation, a little bit of crush on her. When she goes to ask Jane, the girl, out, she then finds out that Jane is actually stuck on the subway and she's from the 1970s, and it's about sort of figuring out why she's there. It's about sort of the romance between them. It's about found family, because August has this really amazing group of flatmates that she lives with, and I adored this book. I know it's not a wrap up, it's a haul, but any chance where I can tell people to read one last stop, I will. I gave this one 5 stars. I'm so happy that I received this one this month. And then this one's a little bit hefty, but the next book that I bought this month was In the Heights Finding Home by Lin-Manuel Miranda, Chiara Alegria Hudes and Jeremy McCarter. So this is basically all about the writing of the musical In the Heights, as well as the production of the In the Heights film that recently came out. There is another book that is very similar to this, which is all about Hamilton, also by Lin-Manuel Miranda, which is called Hamilton the Revolution. I really enjoyed that book. It was good to see sort of the insights of sort of Lin's creative process, I suppose, because what it has is basically the entire libretto of the show and little annotations from Lin about like references or stories about when he was writing that particular song or that particular line, and then also essays from cast members of both the film and the Broadway show. And I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. I miss the theatre. So this will be nice to read while I'm waiting to actually be able to go back and watch a show. And then the next book that I bought was Blackout, which is by 6 different authors. So we have Danielle Clayton, Nick Stone, Tiffany D. Jackson, Ashley Woodfolk, Angie Thomas and Nicola Yoon. So these are 6 black female authors, and basically this is a story of black joy and black love. So it is set during a blackout in New York City, and it's about people who live in this apartment block there, I believe, and their sort of love stories that happen during that night. They're all interconnecting stories. I've read from 4 of these 6 authors and enjoyed work from all of them, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do with. I'm also very much looking forward to seeing sort of different types of stories from some of them that maybe I haven't read this type of work before, because like Danielle Clayton, I've only read her fantasy stuff, so this should be fairly interesting. I think I actually am going to pick this one up very, very soon. And also I got the Waterstones version of this, which means it has sprayed edges, but they're not just sprayed a colour, they also have the New York City skyline on the side of them, which is absolutely gorgeous. You know I'm a sucker for a Bray book. Following on in a similar theme, actually, the next book that I received was another pre-order, and it is Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson. So Leah Johnson is known for writing You Should See Me in a Crown, that I read last year and really enjoyed. This is a sapphic love story about 2 girls who meet at a music festival, and it says on the back, it's a beautiful story of grief and joy filled with irresistible romance and irrepressible heart. And again, very happy to be reading this one as soon as possible, hopefully in the next month. The next one that I picked up is one that I possibly should have waited, because I own a book by this author already, haven't got around to reading it, but still wanted to pick up her second book. It's a standalone, I believe, or at least it's completely separate from the last book. But I still do like to have read at least one of the ones that I own from an author before I move on to another one, just to check I like their writing style. But this cover was just too pretty not to buy it, and also I've heard good things about both her previous book and this one. So that is This Poison Heart by Kaylin Bayron, who previously wrote Cinderella is Dead, which, like I said, I do own. This one is about a girl who has magic, and her magic is that she can sort of control plants and flowers and sort of make things bloom with a single touch. And from sort of gaining this power, she then finds out some dark family secrets that are sort of hidden within it. That's basically all I know with this one. Like I said, I just keep sort of hearing fairly good things about it. And again, look how gorgeous this cover is. It's one of those that I just see on Twitter and I'm like, yeah, I need that book in my life. So I'm very happy to have this one. And then this one's fairly different from what I normally read, but the next one is Rodham by Curtis Sittenfeld. So this is basically an adult novel about American politics, and it is about what would have happened if Hillary Clinton would have never married Bill Clinton, and sort of what her political career would have been if she wouldn't have ended up becoming the First Lady. And I quite enjoy, well, I say enjoy, I don't know if anyone enjoys American politics, but it is something that I sort of keep up to date on. It's something that I was that person who was like watching CNN for days waiting to see the results of the election last year, and I've been wanting to read this one since it came out, but I just never got around to buying the hardback. So now when I saw it in paperback in Waterstones, I decided that I should probably pick it up. So again, another one I should hopefully be getting to soon. We're getting towards the end now. We're getting towards Laini Taylor breaking my bank balance again. But the last one before we get to that is The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. So this is the 4th book in the Truly Devious series, so I can't really tell you too much about it, with it being the 4th book in a series. I do originally believe actually that this was going to be a trilogy, because the original story does wrap up very well within those first 3 books, but then she's decided to carry it on. So essentially Truly Devious was about a girl called Stevie who went to this sort of exclusive boarding school called Ellingham Academy, where basically you can sort of pick what you're going to study. It's for people who have like a extreme passion for something, and her passion was for sort of crime solving almost. There was actually a sort of murder mystery that had happened at this school many years ago, and that crime involved a note that was left by somebody which was signed Truly Devious, and years later when Stevie arrived, one of those notes reappeared, the cold case seemed to reopen, and she helped to then sort of solve both the present day crime and the past one. Obviously it was a fun series. Like I said, I did think it was going to wrap up. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about them carrying it on. This one seems to be a completely different story. It's set at a summer camp where Stevie is invited to go and do something, and then she asks if her friends can come with her. So I don't know if it's needed necessarily. That's what I'm a little bit worried about, but hopefully I will love it, and I still needed to give it a try. So I picked it up and we'll see how it goes. I don't know if there's going to be more after this, and sort of if there is, I suppose it depends on if I like this one, if I'm going to carry on picking them up myself. So last but by no means least, actually let me tell you a story time about this one. So these books have come from America and they got shipped few weeks ago now, and I've been tracking them. They were coming from DHL. It was all fine. Unlike the tracking, it didn't have like the full shipping address, but the destination was sort of my city. It was all fine. Everything was on its way. And then they arrived in the UK, got passed on to a different shipping company who will remain nameless. And I was watching the tracking and I was just kind of wondering why it had been sent to a sort of delivery hub that was an hour and a half drive away from my house. I was like, I know there's a closer one than that. I'm just a bit confused as to why it's in the Midlands when I live in the north. But, well, I'm like, I have faith. Maybe it's just going to be swapped over. And then it went out for delivery in Birmingham. I do not live in Birmingham. I'm not near Birmingham. Like I said, it's about an hour and a half drive away. So I was very confused. Ended up downloading the app for the delivery company, and on that you could actually see the shipping address that they had down, and that shipping address was basically a jumbled up version of my address where they'd got my postcode but somehow entered it on the system with the 2 last letters switched around, and then a completely incorrect letter for the first letter that said B, so it was going to be in Birmingham. So they tried to deliver it to this random industrial estate in Birmingham, and it bounced back because of insufficient address. So I got in touch. I got in touch with that company. I got in touch with the company from America. I got in touch with the sellers originally, and after like a full day of me having to send emails back and forth and everyone just passing me off saying that you need to talk to this person, basically the seller spoke to their shipping company and they confirmed that my details were correct. So they told me that I needed to speak to the shipping company in the UK. I think the shipping company in the UK told me that I needed to speak to the shipping company in America, and the shipping company in America told me I needed to speak to the seller. I'm just like, you're all passing it off. Somebody fix this. Anyway, they tried to make a second attempt in Birmingham, obviously still couldn't deliver there, and then I figured out that basically the first time that the tracking went wrong was when it got to the UK, so it was definitely the UK shipper that had the issue. So I ended up having to send them like an email saying, this is the email from the seller confirming my address. This is the email from the first shipping company confirming the address that they have. You have the wrong one. What has happened? And then very quickly got a message saying, yes, we can confirm that the correct address is on the label. We will resend it to you tomorrow. I'm like, and then basically when it came, there was literally a label with my address, and then the label that came from Litjoy, who I'd ordered it from, and then there was a label that they'd put on it with a completely different address. And nobody thought to just look and see that there was a completely different address on there than what they were trying to deliver it to. that was a fun couple of days trying to track this down. Really worried that I wasn't going to receive these, and it's a fairly like expensive book collection that I've already been waiting a while to get. So I would have been very disappointed if they didn't arrive, but luckily they did, and I now have the Litjoy Strange the Dreamer special edition set. So it comes with this beautiful slipcover, which is Miracles for Breakfast, which for anyone who hasn't read the series is basically a fairly important book that Laszlo, the main character, reads. And then inside this we have Strange the Dreamer, which features the lovely Laszlo Strange on the front, as well as Muse of Nightmares, which features Sarai. And yeah, they are really stunning. I don't know if the sort of camera does them justice, but it's really like beautiful drawings on there. And let me show you the Muse ones as well. Got there. And then we also did get a couple of little extra pieces. So we got an artwork that tells you all the different artists on there, and there was also a bonus little bookmark as well. But my favourite thing about these books probably is those edges. Again, I don't think the camera's doing them justice, but they're like gilded edges, so that is like pure shiny silver. I love it so much. And yeah, we also have beautiful end pages as well. Beautiful end pages. And then also, actually, I say my favourite thing, but my actual favourite thing is, apart from being signed by Laini Taylor herself, we also throughout the book have annotations. So there's like a letter at the front, but then as you go through there are like, so these sort of letters and little annotations throughout as well, which I'm very excited to read through. If I'd not just read the books, I would be rereading them just to read those annotations. I will definitely have to plan at least a read of the annotation part at some point in the future. The end pages, by the way, for Muse. One's gorgeous. And then for him. Now, I know there has been some talk online about some of these arriving not in the best condition. Mine are actually in perfect condition, so I don't know if I just felt lucky, but I'm very happy that I have a beautiful set after all the sort of nightmare it took me to actually receive them. I'm very happy that they're here. And yeah, in terms of Laini Taylor breaking my bank balance, they were not the cheapest set, I won't lie, but they are going to look stunning on my shelf. So there's actually a space for them right there. That's where they've been sitting. I've just had to take them off this morning. But I think if you've watched any of my previous videos this year, you've found out that I have sort of rediscovered and discovered more of my love for Laini Taylor this year. So I'm very excited to have these beautiful special editions. I've now got a special edition set of Dosab and a special edition set of Strange the Dreamer. I will stop soon, I promise. Okay, I literally can't fit all of these books in the frame. But that's all the books that I bought this month. They are like toppling over the side of me now. I have some ones that I'm very excited about, some ones that I've already read that I really loved. How many? I haven't even counted how many I actually bought. There's 17 books in total. That's a lot. Do I regret it? No, I don't. That's the general rule. If I don't regret it, then it's fine. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. I will chat to you guys next time with, I do not know what video, but I would love to speak to you guys in the comments. You'll also find links to all my social media. I'm trying to be a lot more active on Twitter, so please talk to me over there as well. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.